He said, "She's just a friend," then took her on a 3-day trip without telling me. I'm not the jealous type. At least, that's what I always told myself. I don't check phones. I don't scroll back into old DMS. I don't believe in asking, "Where are you?" every time someone walks out the door. Because I believe in trust, in space, in letting people be who they were before me, and still are, even when they're with me. But I also believe in honesty, and in something no one talks about enough: emotional boundaries. This is a story about May, 26, balanced, bright, not insecure, not demanding, just someone who believed love meant transparency, not possession. And this is about Leo, 28th, a photographer, charming, kind in a way that makes it hard to say no, even when he does things that don't sit right. He has a past, a history. And in that history, there's Harper, the ex, the "we're still really close" kind of ex. The "don't worry, she's just like family" kind. May never questioned it. Not really. Until one weekend, Leo said he was going away to shoot for a few days. No big deal. Until she opened Instagram and saw Harper at a beach with Leo, laughing. Glass of wine in hand, no tags, no captions, just the kind of intimacy that doesn't need words. He didn't lie, but he didn't tell the truth either. This is May's story. It started like any other Thursday. Leo texted, "Hey, I might head out of town this weekend. Got a location shoot with a friend. Just a few days." I said, "Okay, be safe." He kissed my forehead, said he'd be low on signal, said he'd text if he could. And I believed him, because that's what trust looks like, right? Friday came, no messages. Saturday, nothing. Sunday afternoon, I got a notification. Instagram story. Harper, his ex. They were on a beach, laughing, close. She filmed him holding a wine glass, spinning around in the sunset, yelling, "This is the life!" My hands went cold. Not because he lied. He didn't. He said he was with a friend. He just forgot to mention it was the one woman he used to love. The one I was never quite allowed to talk about. The one who still called him Lee. When he came back Sunday night, he walked in like everything was fine. I smiled, said nothing at first. Then I asked, "How was the trip?" He shrugged. "Fun? Chill? Super last minute." "You went with Harper, right?" I asked. That was the first time his smile didn't match his words. "Yeah," he said. "But you knew we were still close." "Close?" I asked. "Or so close that you forgot you have a girlfriend now?" He looked defensive. "Why are you so upset? It wasn't a big deal. I didn't hide it." "Didn't hide it?" "Leo, you disappeared for 3 days with a woman you used to sleep next to. And I had to find out from her Instagram story. And here's what I realized in that moment. It wasn't cheating, but it was a choice. A choice to not consider how it would make me feel. A choice to prioritize comfort with his past over transparency in his present. A choice that told me exactly where I stood. Behind history. If you have to find out through someone else's story, maybe you're not in his. In the next part, we'll talk about what emotional respect really looks like, and how "she's just a friend" can still feel like betrayal when it's said with indifference. Let's be honest, not every betrayal comes with lipstick on the collar. Some betrayals come dressed in familiarity, in "we're just close," in "you have nothing to worry about," until one day you realize you weren't worried. You were just excluded. Leo didn't cheat. He didn't lie. But he made a decision to be emotionally available to someone in his past more than he was present with the person he's with now. And that's not a technical violation. That's a relational one. Because relationships aren't just built on what you do. They're built on what you choose to share and who you choose to center. The real issue wasn't Harper. It wasn't the beach, the wine, or the photos. It was that May had to find out through someone else. And that kind of silence? That's not privacy. That's prioritization. She's just a friend becomes a red flag, not because of who she is, but because of how he treats you when she's around. If you feel like you have to stay quiet to keep the peace, if you feel like you'd sound crazy for asking a reasonable question, that's not insecurity, that's instinct. May wasn't asking for ownership. She was asking for awareness, for her feelings to matter before decisions were made, not after the story had already been posted. So ask yourself, is your partner respecting your boundaries, or just avoiding conflict long enough to do what they want anyway? Are you being heard, or just being managed? You don't have to lie to make someone feel invisible. In the next part, we'll hear what Reddit had to say, and how many people have been told you're overreacting by someone who never even asked, "How do you feel about this?" When May's story hit Reddit, it didn't explode. It echoed. Because this wasn't about cheating. It was about something subtler, being made to feel irrational for expecting the bare minimum. Respect. Comment 1. You, invisible, in the room. If she's really just a friend, why did she get a vacation version of him, while you got his silence for 3 days? 19.7K likes. And that's it. It's not about the trip. It's about who got the version of him that actually shows up. Comment 2. You/sounds like avoidance. You don't have to cheat to disrespect someone. You just have to keep making choices that ignore how they feel. 16.4K likes that part. Emotional neglect isn't dramatic. That's why it's so easy to justify until someone says, "No, this hurt me." Comment 3. You/ex should stay ex. My ex used to say, "We're just friends now, too." Funny how that friend always came first. 13.2K likes friendships with exes can work, but not when it feels like your current relationship is playing second fiddle to unfinished music. Comment 4. You too, read. The room Leo. If you have to defend your actions more than you explain them, they were probably wrong. 18.9K likes Hugh. That should be pinned to every argument that starts with, "You're being dramatic." Comment 5, you/not overreacting. She didn't flip out. She asked a question, and he made her feel guilty for noticing what was already public. 21.5K likes. That right there is emotional gaslighting 101. Making someone doubt what they saw because it's easier than admitting you didn't think about them. So if you're watching this thinking, "Am I overreacting?" Maybe pause and ask instead, "Would I ever do this to someone I love?" And then expect them not to care. Because sometimes the pain isn't in what happened. It's in the fact that they didn't think you'd mind. Respect isn't proved in what you say. It's in who you remember before you make the plan. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you've ever been made to feel unreasonable for simply asking, "Why wasn't I included?" My ex came back to ask just one question. Did you ever really love me? Sometimes they don't come back to stay. They come back to ask if you've moved on. Not for closure, not for love, just to check. This isn't a story about rekindled romance. It's a story about the echo of unfinished business, knocking on your door just when you stopped checking the lock. Meet Riley, 28, smart, grounded. She used to believe heartbreak had a purpose. Now, she believes heartbreak just has timing. And some people are good, just not good for you. And then there's Theo, the one who walked away to figure things out, the one who never asked if she was okay. the one who came back just when she was. Riley isn't angry. She's not bitter. She's not waiting. She's just trying to understand. What makes a man come back, not to fix what he broke, but to measure what he still means? It wasn't about loving her again. It was about asking, do I still live in you? This is Riley's story. It was just a text. Hey, you free for a coffee sometime? 2 years, no messages, no birthdays, no how are you? And now, a coffee. I stared at the screen longer than I should have. Not because I missed him, but because there's something about the past. When it shows up uninvited, it still knows your name. I said yes. Not because I wanted him back, but because I wanted to know why now. I didn't tell Daniel. Not because I was hiding something, but because I knew this meeting wasn't about love. It was about memory. We met at a small place in the village. He wore the same jacket, same watch, same smirk, and I felt nothing. Not hate, not love, just distance in the shape of a man I used to know. We talked small things, work, family, life. I told him I was seeing someone. He smiled like it didn't matter. Then he said it, out of nowhere, like he'd been rehearsing it the whole time. Did you ever really love me? I blinked. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I didn't expect him to need it. I asked, why are you asking me that now? He shrugged, sipped his coffee, said, I guess I just needed to know if it was ever real, or if I made it all up in my head. And that's when I knew. This wasn't about us. It wasn't about what we had. It was about him, about his reflection, about his unfinished story, about needing to confirm that he was once loved deeply, even if he couldn't return it. I didn't answer right away, just looked out the window, watched the world move on, because I had. And then I said, yes, I did love you, but you asked the wrong question. He tilted his head, confused. I smiled. You should have asked if I still do. He didn't come back to stay. He came back to check his reflection in the mirror of who I used to be. In the next part, we'll break down what it means when someone seeks validation in your healing, and how closure is sometimes just a conversation they needed more than you did. Let's be honest, sometimes people don't come back because they miss you. They come back because they miss how you made them feel about themselves. And when the glow of their next chapter fades, when validation isn't as loud anymore, they return to the last place they felt important. That's why Theo asked, did you ever love me? He wasn't seeking love. He was seeking confirmation. Confirmation that his leaving didn't make him a fool, that someone out there still thinks he was once worthy of staying for. But here's the truth. Closure is not always about love. Sometimes it's about ego. Theo didn't want Riley. He wanted to know that Riley once wanted him enough to make the memory hurt now. That's why he didn't ask, are you happy? Or, how's Daniel? Or even, do you want to try again? Number he asked, was it real? And what he really meant was I real to you? There's nothing wrong with remembering people kindly. But there's a difference between remembering and being recruited into someone's healing arc just to reassure them they weren't a mistake. Riley didn't owe him a memory. She didn't owe him a breakdown of her past feelings to prove he mattered. Because when someone walks away, they lose the right to demand how you remember them. So, let me ask you, have you ever had someone reappear not to say, I miss you, but to ask, did I ever matter? And when they asked, did it feel like they wanted you back? Or they just wanted their importance back? You weren't the one that got away. You were the one they hoped still kept a light on for them. In the next part, we'll hear what Reddit had to say. From people who've answered questions they never should have been asked by someone who left without ever listening in the first place. When Riley's story landed on Reddit, it struck a nerve. Not because Theo was a villain, but because so many of us have been asked to validate someone else's past, while we're still trying to live our present. Comment 1. I was her memory. 2. He didn't want her back. He wanted her, yes, not to start again, just to sleep better at night. 19.8K likes. That's the thing. Some people call it closure, when really, they're asking you to do the emotional labor of rewriting their ending. Comment 2. You, not your mirror. Il ne lui a pas demandé comment elle allait. He asked if he still mattered. That's not love, that's ego. Thumbs up, 17.2. K likes, and when someone comes back looking for reflection instead of connection, don't mistake that for intimacy. It's performance. Comment 3. You left now, let me be. The moment he walked away, he lost the right to ask her to prove what she once felt. 15.6K likes. This one should be framed, because love that's gone doesn't owe you an echo. Comment 4. You want to ego-wrapped in memory. She didn't say, I still love you. She said, you asked the wrong question. That was the most graceful rejection I've ever seen. 21.4K likes. Grace doesn't mean you're still available. It means you've healed and no longer need to prove what once was. Comment 5. You're the wrong question. The real question isn't, did you ever love me? It's, why does it matter now? 22.9K likes. And if they can't answer that, you already have your answer. So here's the truth. If you've ever had someone from your past show up and say, did you really love me? Ask yourself, do they want love or just proof that they weren't forgettable? And either way, you don't owe them your peace just to fix their doubt. You are not someone's unfinished chapter. You are someone else's whole new book. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you've ever been asked to revisit a version of you that you've already outgrown. He didn't cheat, but he shared her too much. Emotional affair story. He never cheated, but I still felt replaced. There was no lipstick, no late-night messages, no whispered phone calls in another room. Just names, conversations. Stories that started sounding too familiar. This is Clara's story. 34. Thoughtful. Smart. Married for almost 6 years. The kind of woman who never needed to snoop, because she trusted the person she built a life with. And that person was Evan. 36th creative director. Polite, considerate. Never gave her a reason to doubt him, until he started saying her name. Mila. It started with compliments. Nothing strange. She's talented. She's efficient. She's fun to brainstorm with. But then, the tone changed. The stories got longer. The laughs got warmer. And the pauses, the way he lingered before moving on to the next sentence, started telling a truth his words never would. Clara didn't accuse. She didn't cry. She just listened. And she watched the person she loved light up when talking about someone else. And sometimes, that's worse than any affair. He never touched her, but he gave her the best version of himself, the one I hadn't seen in months. This is Clara's story. It started with small things, just little mentions over dinner. Mila came up with the new tagline today. Killed it. You'd like her humor. Very dry, very sharp. We were stuck for hours, but she broke the silence like it was nothing. At first, I smiled. I wanted to be the kind of wife who wasn't threatened by women at his work, because I trusted him. I really did. But then I started noticing he brought her up every single day, even on weekends. even when we were alone, watching movies, brushing our teeth, driving in silence. Mila thinks that movie's overrated. Mila used to live in this neighborhood, actually. It was always Mila. Mila in his words. Mila in his smile. Mila, where I used to be. And it wasn't just what he said. It was what he didn't say about me anymore. He didn't ask about my writing, didn't comment on my new dress, didn't notice when I stayed quiet too long. He was still kind, still present, still Evan. But the version of him I used to get, the excited, attentive, curious Evan, now belonged to her stories. One night, I asked him, "Do you like her?" He blinked, then laughed softly. "What? Number, don't be silly. She's just easy to talk to. She gets me." She gets me. That's when I realized he wasn't cheating, not physically, but emotionally. He had already packed his bags and was halfway moved into a connection he didn't even realize he was building. He didn't lie. He just stopped choosing me in the little ways that used to mean everything. In the next part, we'll break down why emotional intimacy can be more dangerous than any affair, and how some relationships end long before anyone says goodbye. Let's talk about the kind of cheating that never shows up in text logs. The kind that doesn't require a hotel room or a lipstick stain. Just a name, said too often, with too much softness, and just enough hesitation to mean something more. What Clara experienced is what many call emotional infidelity. It starts with sharing, a joke, a lunch, "she just gets me." Then it turns into, "I look forward to seeing her. She understands me better. I can talk to her about things I don't say at home." It's not physical. And maybe that's why it's more dangerous. Because you can't confront it with facts. You can't point at a message and say, "See?" All you have is your intuition screaming while their words keep sounding reasonable. The truth is, emotional cheating doesn't feel like betrayal at first. It feels like distance, and by the time you feel the coldness, they've already built a warm place somewhere else. You're still in the same room, but not in the same story. Clara wasn't jealous. She was aware. Aware that the person across from her wasn't just talking about Mila. He was slowly shifting his affection without even knowing it. So ask yourself, when was the last time your partner lit up talking about someone else? In a way they no longer do when they talk to you? It's not about paranoia. It's about patterns. And sometimes, it's not who they hide that matters. It's who they mention too much. He didn't betray her body. He betrayed her space in his mind. In the next part, we'll hear from Reddit, people who've lived through emotional affairs and know that silence, too, can be loud. When Clara's story hit Reddit, it didn't trigger a fight. It triggered recognition. Because so many people have been in relationships where nothing technically wrong happened, but everything still felt off. Comment 1. You/emotion is louder. He didn't touch her, but he touched something he stopped giving you. Attention. 22.3K likes. That's the most dangerous kind of shift, when the thing you used to get freely is suddenly given to someone else like it's nothing. Comment 2. You too, words matter too. He didn't lie. He just started telling her the parts of his day that used to be yours to hear. 19.6. K likes you don't need a password to know when you've been written out of the version of him that still feels alive. Comment 3. You, soft cheating, is still cheating. I'd rather be cheated on once physically than emotionally replaced over weeks with polite smiles. 24.8K likes. There's something uniquely cruel about losing someone to the kind of intimacy that doesn't even need a secret. Comment 4. He shared her too much. He never hid her. He made me watch her become his favorite part of every day. 20.9K likes. Not every betrayal is hidden. Some are spoken out loud, right in front of you, with a smile. Comment 5. You/still married but alone. I wasn't jealous of her. I was mourning the version of him that only existed when he looked at me like that. 28.1K likes, and that is grief. People rarely name out loud. Grief for someone who's still in the room, but not with you. So if you're in a relationship where you feel like someone else is being seen more deeply than you, listen to that voice. It doesn't make you insecure. It means you're paying attention. Because love is not just about loyalty to the body. It's loyalty to the connection. And once that's shared too far, it's very hard to call it yours again. She didn't need to catch him. She just needed to feel like she wasn't slowly disappearing. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you've ever lost someone to a feeling they never admitted having.